O.D.D TV.
Erasmus Darwin, the grandfather of Charles Darwin, was a Freemason and a member of the Royal Society, and he first proposed the theory of evolution in 1794 in his book titled Zoonomia. Erasmus suggested that all life had evolved from one common ancestor, which over time branched off into all the species we see today. Charles Darwin, also a member of the Royal Society, picked up where his grandfather had left off and continued to mold the theory of evolution. But let's back up a little bit. What is the Royal Society? The Royal Society is a pseudoscientific institution that was founded in 1660 by Freemasons in order to disseminate propaganda that would further benefit the ruling class, and the ruling class wanted God out of the picture. Before the advent of the British Royal Society, science, the study of natural phenomena, and theology, the study of God, were inseparable. But the Royal Society began to help promulgate not only the theories of heliocentricity, gravity, and relativity, but also the theory of evolution. All theories which attempt to push God out of the minds of men, women, and children everywhere. If the theories of heliocentricity and evolution were true, that means the Bible would lose credibility in many areas. Let's watch a clip from a PBS documentary called Evolution.
Any contribution to our natural history from the pen of Mr. Charles Darwin is certain to command attention. His latest publication, The Origin of Species, is manifestly regarded by him as the opus upon which his future fame is to rest. Mr. Darwin claims that every living thing, every fish, plant, fungus, fly, elephant, man, turnip, are all equally the lineal descendants of the same common ancestor. Such a notion is absolutely incompatible with the Word of God. Man was made in the image of God and redeemed by the eternal Son. Natural selection is an ingenious theory for denying the working and therefore the existence of the Creator.
That's basically it. They put it out there. Now back to Charles Darwin. His book On the Origin of Species was published in 1859, and it later popularized the theory of evolution. According to Darwinism, single cells eventually evolved into invertebrates, which are creatures without backbones like jellyfish, then successfully into fish, then amphibians, then reptiles, and finally mammals. Darwin said this occurred from creatures adapting to environments. If, as evolutionists claim, bacteria evolved successively into invertebrates, then fish, amphibians, reptiles, and then mammals, there must have been countless transitional stages. Think about it. For a fish to become a land creature, turning its fins into legs, would require new bones, new muscles, new nerves, and while it was adapting to life on land, a whole new breathing system. Since this supposedly happened from chance mutations, which are very rare events, a massive amount of creatures would have to live and die during the intermediate period. So where's the evidence for these transitions? Among bacteria, invertebrates, fish, amphibians, reptiles, and mammals, there are many thousands of species, but no intermediate species between these groups. That's one reason why Carl Linnaeus, father of taxonomy, the science that classifies living things, was a creationist. Evolutionists try to explain the missing intermediates by saying they all became extinct. It's a convenient way to say we don't have any proof. A better reason for their non-existence is that they never existed.
I'm here to tell my people it's time to stop believing bullshit just because a motherfucker tell you bullshit with a straight look on their face. We too old, we too smart, we too motherfucking good to believe shit don't make no fucking sense. You too old to be believing in evolution with your stupid motherfucking ass. Evolution say people came from monkeys, and the question is, why is there still monkeys, you dumb motherfucker, you? Is these the retarded monkeys? They didn't turn into people just yet. Get your stupid ass the fuck out of here.
So with all the problems of evolution theory and the lack of evidence, it's easy to see why people weren't buying it at first. Enter Thomas Henry Huxley, Freemason and fellow member of the Royal Society. Known as Darwin's bulldog for his fierce defense of the theory of evolution, by relentlessly defending the theory, he helped familiarize the public with it to a large extent. So now the Darwins and the Huxleys establish a relationship for future generations. Again, most of the members in both families are Freemasons and Fellows of the Royal Society, which was started by Freemasons. Just in case you happen to be unaware of who the Huxleys are, let's look at the family real quick in Wikipedia. The Huxley family is a British family of which several members have excelled in science, medicine, arts, and literature. The family also includes members who occupied senior positions in the public service of the United Kingdom. The patriarch of the family was the zoologist and comparative anatomist Thomas Henry Huxley. Thomas Henry Huxley's grandsons include Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World and Doors of Perception, his brother Julian Huxley, evolutionist and first director of UNESCO, and Nobel laureate physiologist Andrew Huxley. So you see, just these two wealthy families alone, the Darwins and the Huxleys, have had an immense influence on our society. Let's look at some of the work of Aldous Huxley, specifically his book Brave New World, published in 1932, which presents a future where humans are no longer born, but cloned, hatched in incubators to perform predetermined roles in a worldwide corporate slave state. It's quickly becoming a reality, but there is a passage in the book that I want to spotlight. The older dictators fell because they could never supply their subjects with enough bread, enough circuses, enough miracles, and mysteries. Under a scientific dictatorship, education will really work, with the result that most men and women will grow up to love their servitude and will never dream of revolution. There seems to be no good reason why a thoroughly scientific dictatorship should ever be overthrown. Just that alone gives us insight to how the Huxleys and the Darwins thought. I recommend reading this book. It's not only prophecy, but it's planned prophecy, if that makes sense. It's not authentic, but forced to happen, and average readers will think the book came true on its own. But it was the plan of the ruling class all along. Now let's look at Aldous Huxley's brother, Julian. Julian Huxley was a prominent advocate for eugenics, the science of improving a human population by controlled breeding to increase the occurrence of desirable heritable characteristics. In his 1933 book, The Vital Importance of Eugenics, Julian Huxley argued that the principal goal of eugenics in the short term should be to ensure that mentally defective individuals cease having children. He advocated in particular for prohibition of marriage of the unfit, segregation of institutions containing degenerate individuals, sterilization of the unfit, and that's not really all. I'm just trying to quickly familiarize you with his work. It gets pretty bad. After becoming the first Director General of UNESCO, a United Nations Illuminati think tank, in 1945, Huxley published UNESCO, Its Purpose and Its Philosophy. This manifesto outlined both the broad goals of this newly established organization and Huxley's stance on how UNESCO should attempt to address them. He contended that UNESCO's goals included international peace and security, collaboration among the nations, and human welfare, arguing that these goals could only be accomplished if individuals pursued the most desirable direction in human evolution. Not only that, but Julian Huxley coined the term transhumanism. In a book of essays by Julian called New Bottles for New Wine, he wrote, "I believe in transhumanism. Once there are enough people who can truly say that, the human species will be on the threshold of a new kind of existence, as different from ours as ours is from that of the Peking man. It will at last be consciously fulfilling its real destiny." So there it is. These two ruling class families have been pursuing this agenda for a very long while. And there's multiple people in other families and other secret groups out there. We're only discussing just a couple. I mean, just the agendas out there are rampant and they're being fulfilled all the time. Long before the media was here to program us, there were institutions like the Royal Society to do it instead. But nowadays it's so much easier. We just watch TV. We watch the provided programming, and the lines between fantasy and reality blur like never before. Why haven't any scientists spoken up about the impossibility of evolution? The reason is simple. Those scientists that protest that the facts don't support the theory of evolution are quickly branded creationists, thrown out of scientific circles, and blacklisted so they can't obtain work with any major university or government science project even.
And I've heard people say that the reason they don't want to publish papers that disagree is that they built their careers on this. If you were paranoid, you'd say there's a conspiracy. Whatever it is, there is a lot of resistance to getting something published that disagrees.
They're scared. You'd lose your job over this stuff. People don't want to come out against anything, against the heliocentric model, against evolution. Scientists, they pretty much have to do the work that is already laid out for them. They have to go with the theories that are already laid out before them. We all know if anybody goes against the mainstream narrative, we are ridiculed, mocked, and shamed, and it's just absolutely garbage, man. We need to change this. This has been O.D.D TV. I'm gone.